30 reasons in 30 days. This is day 24 of why I am choosing to opt out of recession. And that is because I refuse to remain a victim. I may be a victim of circumstances, meaning I may not have chosen to be in those circumstances, or a victim of the economy, or a victim of someone else's actions or decisions. But remaining a victim is a choice. If you see yourself as a victim, you become your own oppressor. That's a quote from Candace Owen. I don't know who she is, but that's a good quote. Here's another quote from Steve Backlund. He's an author that I have quoted before. Our response to something is almost always more important than the something. He continues, in Numbers 13, the 10 spies believed they were like grasshoppers in their own sight. Their interpretation of themselves created their beliefs about the world around them. If we don't embrace our higher identity, then we will perceive ourselves as victims who are powerless to bring change. That's such a powerful statement. I can remember during the Great Recession, my business suffered in a big way. I definitely felt like a victim when overnight a law was passed and my industry had changed to a point I was barely hanging on. Unfortunately, I wallowed in that victimhood for far too long and let it affect my attitude, self-esteem, boldness, and creativity simply because I saw myself as being powerless to affect change. As such, I believe I allowed my family to experience lack far longer than was necessary. I can say this with some level of confidence because I had colleagues in the same business, in the same town, in the same economy, who shifted far sooner than I did and had a very different experience than I did. And I'm okay with accepting personal responsibility for this. If I can accept personal responsibility for my part and not try and pass blame to other people or the circumstances, I rob victimhood of its power and place the controls back into my hands. James 1, verses 2 through 4 in one paraphrase says, my fellow believers, when it seems as though you are facing nothing but difficulties, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy you can, for you know that when your faith is tested, it stirs up in you the power of endurance. So your response in difficulties is to see the opportunity, have joy, have faith, grow in endurance. 1 Corinthians 10:13, also in a paraphrase, we all experience times of testing, which is normal for every human being, but God will be faithful to you. He will screen and filter the severity, nature, and timing of every test or trial you face so that you can bear it. And each test is an opportunity to trust Him more. For along with every trial, God has provided a way of escape that will bring you out of it victoriously. Trials, testing, difficulties are part of the normal human experience. But remember, our God is faithful. Remember, God has given you the ability to bear it. And remember that in it, God has included an opportunity for you to be victorious. There are no helpless situations, only helpless people. Our responsibility is to remain in hope, not in victimhood. During the traumatic COVID shutdown, I know several businesses that suffered greatly, and some even went under. And my heart really goes out to them, and no one would blame them for playing the victim card. We become victims when we knowingly or unknowingly shift the blame of our experience to someone else or something else. I am this way because of the politicians. I am this way because of my parents. I am this way because of the economy, my age, my spouse, my kids, my boss, my weight, my gender, my city, my church, to whomever or whatever you are passing the blame. You take the authority out of your hands and are giving it to that person or thing. Here's a classic. The devil made me do it. We can all recognize the folly of this statement, but do we recognize when we are saying something similar in our own lives? Even Adam, the first man, blamed someone else. I mean, it was just Adam, Eve, and God, and he blames them both. The woman that you gave me brought me the apple and I ate. But I've done the same thing. I was a supervisor over a team of 7 employees, and I had a bad habit of blaming all of them for us not keeping up with our production goals. My manager called me out, and he was not kind in his delivery. But I look at that experience as a pivotal moment in my thinking that I have reflected on in so many other situations. Remember, our response to something is almost always more important than the something. The 10 spies' interpretation of themselves created their beliefs about the world around them. There are no hopeless situations, only hopeless people. I am not saying that you will never have an initial negative emotional response to uncontrollable events in your life, but how long you stay there is your choice. I am asking all of you to keep me accountable to not wallow in victimhood ever. And this is me challenging you that staying a victim is a choice. All right, here's today's declarations. I am no victim. I am who God says I am. I could do what God says I can do. I look for the hope, joy, and opportunity in every situation. I take personal responsibility for my response. Tomorrow, we are going to cover another universal principle that dates clear back to the book of Genesis. Until then, choose to make it a great day.